So we're here. That's it, yeah. The end of the. We reached the fin. It's safe to say we reached the finish line.
We reached the finish line. Taken a while, but we got there.
Would you say about 2 years? It might have been.
We've probably been working for at least 2 years, isn't it?
I would say it's about 18 months to 2 years. Yeah. So the thing is, yeah, the reason I pulled you in for this chat and the reason we're doing this right now is because there's a massive story behind how this EP even started, and we never started off trying to do an EP. No, yeah, I don't think we ever sat in this room and we're like, yeah, let's do an EP.
Yeah. No,
but I'm gonna pull it back. So I'm gonna ask you a few questions as well. You feel free to shoot some back and forth. Yeah. I'm gonna pull it back all the way to Wanstead coffee shop. Girls
in Wanstead. Wanstead, man. God bless that place, bro.
Fam, that's the starting
Wanstead.
Point. So the way this started off, yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, I was with a friend in Wanstead and I see Nick sitting at the back, and I'd already met Nick probably a year before that.
Yeah.
So these times, man, just going up. He was with a friend.
I was with my friend Ife.
Yeah.
I was with my friend Ife, and I remember we'd met like through a mutual friend, like you say, about a year previous. And it's mad because we live about a mile from each other anyway.
About a mile, yeah.
But we hadn't ever crossed paths. We met, got on very well, then just both individually went about our lives. Bumped into you in Gales in Wanstead.
So yeah, so I was with my boy and I was like, yeah,
milk latte and that.
Yeah. Oh, milk latte gang, come on. And then I see Nick and I was like, cool, let me just go over and say what's going on. And I think, what would you say, like, I think I told you then that I live nearby, and then you were like, yeah, I should come by for a session.
Yeah, and like I remember, there's been times in my life where I've been that person, like, yeah, we should link up. Do you know what I mean? We should
that's just the casual passing line, isn't it? Yeah, let's link up soon. Yeah.
And then I think like I started to get like annoyed. I've just around that time, like it was a weird time in my life, just musically in terms of everything's going on, and I just remember thinking like I want to be someone that actually stands by what I said. And I remember when we met, it's like, it just made sense. We was like, cool, let's get in. I can't remember when we actually had a session, like what the time frame was after that, but we definitely started chatting.
Yeah.
And it was sick though, because I would just come round and really we would just end up
chatting,
listening to music, chatting, talking about life. Really, we didn't record nothing for time.
We had a similar experience. We'd both been going to America at that point.
Yeah,
and we were talking about that. And then we dialed backwards, but it's mad because when you came over, I didn't know what I didn't even know what to do. Do you know what I'm saying? So I hadn't been producing music for a while.
I remember when you told me that you'd produce Gets Who's on the Panel. I was like, yo, because that was a hood banger.
That was
what was that? 2000
bro, I was working at O2 then. Like that was how
I reckon that was what, 08, 09?
Yeah, it was mad. I remember like we were going back on this like music history of like what's happened.
I was gonna say anybody YouTube now gets Who's on the Panel.
Yeah, that was
a banger, and this is a producer right here.
You know, so many people still listen to that track. I think it's still people spin it.
Mad.
On like, but it's nuts. But that, I remember telling you about that track, that journey, and whatever, and then we were just going back and forth. And then,
I think both obviously being from East and just there was so many different like. Oh, you worked with him. I knew him from back in the, like all of that kind of.
Because me and Nick we won't disclose it, but we're close in age. So we had come in, like we were doing music in the same era of music. So everyone
and grown up with like listening to the same people, local spitters as well as just in general. So there was a lot of synergy on that. But then I think what was interesting about you, because I've worked with a bunch of talented producers, I've been very fortunate, but you obviously had this whole experience and career going on in film music,
before
which is something I have never experienced. So go on, tell me a bit about that. Like,
so the film thing is mad because it's not something I aim to do. So this is partly why like a lot of my approach in how we worked was linked towards just not trying to define everything. I think people get in the room and they're like, yeah, like it has to be this, or you should sound like this, whereas I'm more interested in why you make particular decisions, right? So the film is interesting in learning that because you spend a lot of time watching characters and dialogue, and you're trying to figure out what this person's trying to say, and then you complementing it. So that philosophy that you approach, you realize the music is there to complement the main character. In a lot of ways, that's what music is, right? It's the artist is the main character in the movie, and the music is supposed to complement it. But we're in an era where producers are right now getting as popular as artists. So it might be common for most people to make music and be as present as the artist, but I'd come from the different thought process to that. So my thing was, how can I get out of the way but at the same time put you in the forefront? So for me, working on films, like, because obviously my story, without going into it too much, but it was just that I had a car accident in LA, became friends with the person I had a car accident with. They started introducing me to people who were in the Hollywood business, and then I, like most people doing this business, if someone says, can you do it? You're like, yeah. What, film? Yeah, no, I can do that. I just agreed my way into that. And then I did that, but I'd come back, and that's when I'd met you, because I'd come back and I was still off the high of like, I've worked on these films, but I didn't get a chance to do music again. But you know what it's like, right? So it's like with a producer and an artist, if you don't connect, it's hard to, then you're just pressing buttons, really. Like,
yeah, that's the thing, because I think like I was always, and around this time I was getting sent loads of beats, sick beats as well, sick beats. But it's weird because, and I can always write over a beat. How good it is obviously up for debate, but I can always write. If someone sends me something, I can always write. But there's something about like the marrying of the two, and myself not being a music producer, I think I'd struggled for a long time in just having someone where it was like, kind of like what you're talking about, how I felt like I had so much to say and I had stories to tell, but I hadn't for a while found the right kind of, I don't want to say backdrop because I don't want to play down the importance of the production, but the bed for that to kind of, for what I wanted to say, to sit on. Do you get what I'm saying? So yeah, we met at an interesting time, innit? And we didn't make nothing for ages, did we?
And even the things we made, they're probably, I don't expect them to see the light of day. Some of them were just like interesting.
We were bouncing around a lot.
So, because here's what's interesting for you. What I have a question for you is, the last EP you did was from these incredible producers in Turkey.
Fly Tones, and that was an EP called Sidelines.
Sidelines, check it out if you haven't. And it was like, I remember hearing that work and thinking, this work sounds crisp. Like, where could you go from here?
Yeah.
And then you had this history of doing Talk to Me, which was like your chart success record. So it's like you've got a spectrum of, like, some people don't have chart success, so they're trying to go in that direction. But then you've gone to the peaks, and then you've gone over there international to pick different producers. So when you were coming back, at that point, my question to you is, because I never really asked you, is where were you in that whole of, what do I want to do with music?
Yeah, it was sick, because like the Fly Tones, who are sick,
incredible,
they were wicked. We made this EP and it was cool, and I was happy, and I hadn't done a project in ages, and then I put it out, and it was received well, but at the same time I feel like I was still trying to figure out, what am I trying to say? So the whole concept about Sidelines, there's a lot of sporting references in terms of just being an onlooker and not actually getting involved, and feeling like for so long I just not really like stood for something, and now it's time for me to step off from the sidelines, as it were, and stand for something, which was cool. But I think when I met you, I was at the point of like, so what do I want to do? Like, what do I want to say? What, like, I don't know what, you know, I'm not like a young man anymore, as in the sense of I'm not 18, 19, 20 like when I first started. I want to make sure that what I'm saying is important and is something that kind of has value. And I think I had so many different worries, fears, anxious thoughts about life, and just looking back and thinking about all the wrong turns I've taken, some of the right turns I've taken, and just how I ended up here, and just feeling like, what's the story now? Which is interesting, because I remember checking out all your projects before and thinking, you've got too much to choose from. You had this like chart, so as a producer, when I was looking at Nick and I was sitting there in the room, I was like, I think, and this is good advice to anybody working, if you don't know, you don't know. And you got to embrace that part. Like, you shouldn't, because I think like a producer, you might feel inadequate if you're like, well, I don't know. And then the artist was like, well, if you don't know, then what am I going to do with you? But then, and that's where the conversations took off, because it was like, the only way you can know, so much freedom. So it's like,
I wasn't afraid to be anything different at that point. I think maybe that was a similar thing, because if I'd met you and I'd tried to work with you, I would have looked at what you've done and then maybe tried to re-emulate something, or tried to prove myself in that way.
Yeah, I'd had like the chart here, and then I'd gone like totally the other way and was like, right, I'm not doing no choruses. Do you know what I mean? I'm just spitting bars. I'd done like some bars, more, like mellow. I'd thought, let me do something like more gritty and let me be emotional. All things that were like represented who I was. It wasn't like, right, I need to do this, but it was just, let me just express myself in any way and not get worried about trying to make this song or the perfect whatever, which was a really freeing experience. But I think it was like, right, I need to put something together now. And that's, and it was just like, I felt like there was no pressure, you know, from either side. It wasn't like we were waiting like, right, what you got for me, kind of thing. It was just like,
and it's nerve-wracking as well, because as a producer, you're sitting there, you're thinking, if I don't make something that's current or then you're like, oh, this person might think I'm shit at what I do. But it's like, it's interesting because a lot of the production on this whole entire EP, I don't think I could give them beats to anyone. They're specifically your beats. And that's probably what defined the whole EP. Was that we catered it to a style that came from conversation, understanding. And also we did a few things like at the end of Essentials, where you've just got an 8-bar, 8-bar piano melody to finish it off. We made all choices to be different. I don't think we did it to be different.
It wasn't like we were trying to be like, ooh, let's
push it out there. We took an inspiration from a lot. I think, like, I would say I remember us speaking a lot about Good Kid, Mad City. We spoke about that a lot, and we spoke about like defining this project. Like, what does it mean? What have you got to say? But at the same time, we made sure we did a song like Don't Sleep. Because it's like you said, it's embracing all aspects. We're not going to ignore one side.
And Don't Sleep was really important, because it's like, I woke up today, it's been like, it could be a bit like, oh, who wants to listen to someone like moan about their struggles with sleep? But then Don't Sleep is just like this, don't sleep on me. Do you know what I mean? I can bar. Like,
that's interesting.
Do you get what I mean? And I'm not always necessarily like, I believe in myself, but sometimes I'm so, I don't want to come across as egotistical, but it's still my ego saying, don't come across as that.
Don't you think that's music though? There's always a bit of ego, no?
Of course, that's the thing. And it was my ego that would be telling me, you don't want to be seen as proud. That's still my ego telling me like, how are people going to think? But it was like just that opportunity to have a bit of fun and be like, no, I can spit. Do you know what I mean?
I feel like the EP would lose a bit if it didn't have Don't Sleep. Don't Sleep is actually a good pivot point in the entire EP. If without it, it starts to lose.
And you got to have an entry as well. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like this. I've got to earn the right for a listener to be interested in my story.
That's true.
That's what I realized.
So my whole time in knowing Nick, like, if there's one thing that's the most, what you see in music, you'll be. If I meet you, I feel like you're the same person. And I don't mean that to like say people aren't like that, but it's often you can meet someone who's a bit more introverted, who's not actually doesn't talk much to people, and they talk more in the music. But the more I got to know you, I think it's fair to say like faith is like right on the top of everything. And here's a question I got for you, which I think is interesting. In a sport, I like to call music a sport sometimes. It's like we're all right. In a sport where music is competitive, it's egotistical, you gotta prove yourself again and again. How does that align with who you are as a person in terms of faith? Because I think with faith, it's a lot about humility. But then you get on the mic and then you'll do this. So you've got, and that's why I think the EP is interesting with that deep voice, because it's the play of two people.
It's been a constant battle, because music helped throughout my whole life, has helped me to show. Music has shown me where my insecurities lie. Do you know what I mean? I could, I'm not going to, but I could reel negative comments that I remember people leaving on YouTube videos from 10 years ago. And the reason that I can remember them is because my ego was wounded. Do you know what I mean? And my insecurities were exposed. So music has often showed me how much I care about what people think of me, which in one sense you need for the business, because it's like the music has to be received well if it's gonna make sense for you to carry on. But there's been, what my faith in Jesus has shown me is nothing wrong with wanting something to go well, but it's about letting it define who you are. And I found in Jesus, I've let him define who I am. Do you know what I mean? And he says I'm valuable, regardless of whether I can spit or not. Regardless of whatever. My value is not based on my performance in life. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm valuable, I have the freedom to express myself. And when I say I'm valuable, I believe that that's the case for everyone. Do you know what I mean? I believe the same thing about you. But that was a real awakening moment for me when I came to that realization, because there was just freedom from, well, this is what I believe God says about me and who God says he is. God is the creator. Do you know what I mean? So he's made us all to be creative because we're made in his image. So it's like I can go out from that and create, but it's not in order to like justify myself. And for a long time it was like, well, if I get to this level, or if I'm seen as this, or if people think that I'm this guy or whatever, then I'll be good. Or if I make this amount of money and I'm comfortable here and I've got this way of this level of life, then I'll be good. But my faith in Jesus has just helped me see none of that actually like matters. Not that I've got to run away from it, but it's not what life is about. Life is about something more. It's about working from that place of I'm free because of what I believe God has done for me, you know. And now my music is just I try to make my music just an extension of that. Not that I'm trying to preach to anyone, but it's like, I believe all rappers are preachers though, bro.
Well, essentially, yeah. I mean,
we're all saying something. We've all got some sort of mantra.
And we're all looking for someone to follow us on a journey of how we express it.
So, but I never want to be, obviously, even you and myself, we've got different faiths, do you know what I mean? And different, but we have a lot of synergy on our idea, and that's never had to be something that's, that come between us. If anything, do you know what I mean? A lot of our conversations start off in that, and then we go from there. So that's why I've really enjoyed one of the many reasons I've enjoyed working with you.
If we look on this EP, if we extract faith, I question what the EP is left with.
Yeah.
It might just be then just entertaining things, but like...
Yeah. And I think I've just, like, I'm at a stage where I'm not saying like my content is going to be for everyone, but I'm at a stage where it's like I have to feel like I'm saying something worth listening to, and that has to go beyond just, I don't know, just the surface level things, you know?
Right.
And even chatting with you and just thinking about how many like books we've recommended to each other or just different things. I think we're just the type of like, that's just how our minds work. And I've always been an overthinker. I'm constantly thinking, and for me, music is just a chance to get those thoughts down. And it's a real challenge, not just to make them rhyme. That is a good challenge, because the process of trying to get some thoughts on a page, get them to rhyme, get them to fit into the right timing and everything is like, it forces me to consider, to reword, to make my own thought process and everything within it succinct. And it's a really good experience for me, because it forces me to work out actually what I'm thinking. Like, you know, you can see certain interviews where people just waffle, and I can definitely be...
Oh, we can all waffle.
We can all waffle.
It happens.
And everyone waffles, and that's part of life. But it's also good to be able to be like, right, cool, I got 16 bars or 24 bars or 45 seconds to get in what I want. It's a good challenge. Like, it's a good challenge to do that.
That's actually an interesting way of looking at it, because once conversations in passing, like in life, are just like, you can go on for 2 hours and have a conversation, but on a record you've got, I think a lot of the records are probably like 3 minutes at max. Again, unintentional. I think it's just we decided to go in quick, like, rather than waste time. And
you've helped me with that, because I think, I mean, you can talk to this, I'm the type of person where, if given the opportunity, I'll spit for 4 minutes and I won't stop. And there's times for that, but that can also be quite self-indulgent. And it's like, actually, not everyone is going to be able to... I'm a wordsman. I've always listened to lyrics in songs, but people listen for different things. Like, just tone, melody, hook, whatever. So it's not just dumbing everything down, but there's a difference between dumbing things down and making it like accessible and relevant, I suppose. There's some really sick rappers out there. Like, there's incredible. So many sick
Who you
rappers.
listen to right now?
Ooh, who do I
Millions.
listen to? We keep arguing about that. I think Millions is cold.
Yeah, man.
I think Millions is cold.
He's a good guy, yeah.
I like Docevelli. Who else am I listening to? I mean, yeah, like.
But this is interesting, right? Let's speak about Dutch for a second. You speak about Dutch, but where you are in music, it's interesting that you listen there. Do you get inspiration from there?
I don't think I'm anything. I think that's why I can really enjoy like the Dutchavellis, the Millions, like the Tion Waynes, that kind of stuff, because it's just so different to where I am.
Right. So you get to tap into that.
Yeah, and it's just like it's just it's enjoyable. Do you know what I mean? And I don't see them, man, as competition. Like, there's a level of like they're just doing so well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
These are some of the biggest rappers in the country, but also I don't see them like. I'm not in the same lane. Do you know what I mean? So I just love being able to listen to it, to enjoy it. But that's also something that I've come on to do. I used to listen to other spitters in the UK, and I'd find like that kind of like competitive thing come up, which is cool, but almost like maybe jealousy, or like I'd be annoyed if the tune was hard, and I'm like, no, I don't want to be that guy. Yeah. I want to be able to celebrate anyone and anything that I enjoy. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think all musicians have to learn that? I don't think that comes naturally.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just like it's coming to the realization of you don't have to lose in order for me to win.
That's a great truth.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it's just like that small town mindset, just kind of like, not everyone can make it. And it's like, well, what is making it first and foremost? But also, if someone is saying something that I really get, like, I really align with, and just like, I want to be able to enjoy that. So yeah, like I'd say the Dutchavellis, the Millions, they're more like that's like guilty pleasure music.
That's
instant.
I mean? Yeah, that's instant energy type of records.
But like, if I'm going in terms of like what's my go-to, it's always gonna be like the more I guess like introspective. I mean, just East Coast like hip hop for me. Like,
so you're a big hip hop head. For most people that don't know, Nick's a massive like hip hop. I would say you're, not to throw the word around, historian maybe a bit. Like,
mate, I don't know. Like, I'd like to think so. Yeah. I'm an undergraduate historian level of hip hop, but I really enjoy looking at the story that hip hop tells, and because hip hop is just so. I mean, all music does this to an extent, but if you listen to like a hip hop album from 1992, yeah, like you're gonna know what that rapper was wearing, what that rapper was watching on TV. Mad. Probably there's gonna be some, however small or big, some sort of nod to what's going on politically, what's going on socially. It's like a time capsule. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, because hip hop is like very of the moment in the best possible way, in my opinion. Whether the rapper is the deep introspective rapper or the more like fun party whatever rapper, either way, there's still, it just captures that. And I just think that's really interesting, because hip hop, if you start to look through the years, it can really paint a picture of what the world looks like in some way. Right. And yeah, I think I've always naturally, just because like I said, I'm a words man, I love listening to rappers that just really can, like, as cliche as it sounds, paint pictures with words.
So name a few of them, just so there's a bit more context to that.
Nas, I think he'd always be the first one, I'd say, like particularly early Nas. Big L, like, who is a lot more on the kind of like, he was just such a sick spitter, man. He sadly died way too young. And a lot more kind of like raw and like rough around the edges, but he was sick. Early Eminem, Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah,
like, there's just such a grittiness.
Proper classic. People that
Mobb Deep.
I'd say, like, if you were gonna ever listen to music, you have to go through these catalogs. Otherwise, you couldn't even get to a point in music without going through those catalogs.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to me. So I want to go into two sides of you, which link back to this EP. I think I'll start with the first one is you don't swear. There's one swear word I think on this whole EP, and even out of context, you're more saying it.
Yeah, I'm trying to like.
You're playing off a different angle.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying people need to swear, but it's interesting when someone makes an effort. Do you make an effort not to, or is that natural?
I think it's natural. Like, I don't really swear. Like, I try not to swear in general, just because, like, there's a verse in the Bible that says, "Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks." So, I'm definitely no angel. Like, you can ask my family and my fiance. But I try to. I find that, like, when I do lose my temper, which happens, I end up saying things that I don't mean. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's all of us.
And that's always a sign of losing your temper. And it's like, and then when I calm down, I'm like, why did I say that? I didn't mean that. So I try to really take my words seriously, because I know what it feels like to say something you don't mean just because of whatever. So not that, like, I've not got no, like, huge moral thing with swearing, but it's just like, for me anyway, if I swear, it's because I'm not taking into consideration what I'm actually trying to say, if that makes sense.
I think there's a saying, right, in writing, is if you have to, like, sometimes people who swear, it's just a lack of vocabulary. There's other ways to express anger and say things. But there's nothing wrong with swearing either. I mean, it really depends on your medium of expression. I don't think in our conversations, I think I swear way more than probably you do. Like, but I just, like, it's my go-to. It's just ease. I shouldn't like. But in a way, it's interesting that those choices are made to be like that.
It can make rapping harder though.
It can make it. This is it.
Even to go back to, like, when Gov said, like, bruv, you keep saying skip on the rhythm. It's like, you can end up, or I can end up, like, having my go-to things. And I think for a lot of rappers, they can be swear words, because there's often times where it's like, I just need, like, a 2-syllable word or 1-syllable word or a 3, like, and sometimes it can just slot in. So it is an opportunity to really push myself to be like, what am I saying? And also, I'm not, like, I don't like the idea of, like, negative and positive, because life is so much more nuanced than being, like, negative or positive.
Right, you're making it black and white.
Yeah, but, like, I want my writing to be considered. That's how I'd say it, rather than, like, negative or positive, because I'm both negative and positive sometimes in, like, 4 bars, you know, and that's like most people. But, like, so for me, it's like I want to consider what I'm saying, and for me, swearing, it doesn't come into that. Who do you rate producers wise?
Oh, you threw it on me that quick like that. I wasn't even ready. This was all.
You were doing now. I'm just. Wow. No, but, like,
it's hard. It's hard because I grew up in the era of music where you grew up. So unfortunately, we were looking to America a lot first, and for me, it's like some of the names I might throw out there are cliche, like Dr. Dre and these kind of people. But
we listened to a lot of his drums.
It was a lot of those. Yeah, a lot of his drums, and it was like. And obviously, it's easy to say the Timberlands and these people are geniuses. Like, you know, it's just you're naming the best of the best here. They were incredible. Like, if you go to even J Dilla Productions, and if you go, it can go on for a while. But one thing I always realized when the music I grew up on, be it like from the West Coast and East Coast era, you had to. A lot of them were sampling instruments. So when I grew up, I was like, well, I have to be able to play keys. Because for me, keys and chords, and I play very jazz style, so I'm always about the major 7s and all that. So I play big chords, and you'll hear that all over the EP. Like even the outro, essentials, these are all big chord structures. So I always felt like you had to be able to play an instrument. But then when grime was coming up, grime wasn't about, like, if you look at, like,
anti, really.
Yeah, right. Look at Sing For Me. It's like 2 notes. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
or even like a lot of Wiley's instrumentals are like, you know, tap, like, dripping, or just these, like, random sounds that have so much with them, but they're atonal.
Like, if you look at that, like, and see, so when I was trying to produce, it was
Sing
like,
For Me was a banger.
Sing For Me is a banger. And remember, even there's a dance remix to it as well. There was a Sing Bada Bada. I was like, so
I actually rated that. Everyone else seemed to, like, not.
I loved it.
that.
I felt like when I was coming up, it was all about being on Logan's show. So I always wanted to get to the Logan Sama show. So you had to have a drop. So my drop was The Champ Is Here, and then Teddy had Teddy, and then you had Rude Kid with Are You Ready? The famous Are You Ready? And then there was all these great producers coming up, and I think a lot of them producers that I just named now, like people like Rude Kid, Silent Sar, you had Maniac, then you had Wiley producing. There's a lot of other guys which they're not coming to mind right now. Even Rapid. I was a big fan of Rapid's productions at the time, and when he did Top 3 Selected, to me that was cold. All these producers, there was something to learn from them. Do you know what I mean? So
because what I like, obviously I'm not a producer, but because there wasn't necessarily, it wasn't coming from like music theory.
No,
it just allowed so much room to
do whatever you
think
want.
outside of the box.
And
that was what I loved. And like about just grime, it was like, this doesn't make sense, and because of that it makes perfect sense.
That's why like Da Vinci was one of my favorite producers. Da Vinci to me was like, I still think in some respects like he might be, in my eyes, a bit underrated. I think Da Vinci, like when he was produced, because Da Vinci was, again, he was a keys player, so I connected with him quick because when he was doing like Kano records, and then like he was doing like P's and Q's, these are like drastic differences. And you listen, as a producer, you dream to have a classic. Once you have a classic, no matter what you do in your life, you've got an iconic record. And like, so for me, there were so many producers that to pick from. Even now, like I think the production level has changed. I don't want to become the guy who looks at these guys and says, this is not music, or this is not great. Which is why, if you look, like there was a point in time where I had to change my whole drum approach. Like these producers now, the way they do the drums, and then the hats change, and then trap came, and then Afro beats comes, and it's syncopated now, and it's doing this. So you had to move and you had to learn. So like for me, the hardest part of music is staying fresh.
Right.
Because if the minute you marry your form, you're dead. You married your form and you're stuck. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with that, because I feel like if you look at like Alchemist and these producers, they'll probably still do what's true to them, and that's great. I think you should do it, but it depends what you want. Which is why like on this EP you'll find there's a drastic difference from when you're coming from the intro all the way to the outro. And it's not because I'm a big believer in like what Quincy Jones used to say, which is like there shouldn't be genres too much, because we start to think, well, you can't use this sound because this is for that. Like I woke up today, I don't even know what that sound is. Like that is the most chopped and screwed reverse sound. I couldn't tell you what I even done with that. But then I guess that leads me back to thinking, out of that whole project now, right now, where you are today, what's the record that you like? That's my favorite record of the EP. Because it can change, but what would it be today?
That's a very good question. I think it would be the final track, Are You There?
That's funny, isn't it? Because I remember when I played you that track, and you weren't. I don't even think you didn't even pick it. You didn't not pick that record.
I wasn't really feeling it. I think the reason why I like that is because I wanted the EP to feel like full circle, in the sense of like you could play it on a loop almost as a story. So it's like the EP starts with me kind of waking up from a bad night's sleep, and it kind of ends with me being grateful but also still questioning like what's going on. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like Are You There for me captures like the conflict and confusion that I can sometimes feel in my mind, and at points when my mental health has not been in the best of places, but also the acknowledgement of something far greater than me being the reason why I'm here, and being grateful for that. So I feel like it captures something of like, because the EP is like a bit, it's not, I hope it's not confusing, because I spent a lot of time kind of thinking about the word, but there's conflicting messages in the sense of there's some points where I'm like, God's not even real. Other times I'm like, thank you so much. But it's like, it was capturing something of my journey. Do you get what I mean? Of like life has its peaks and its troughs, you know, and I feel like for me, that song kind of represents that. What's your favourite track?
Do you know what? It was cliche, but outro was always my favourite. It was even when I got that, my friend Joe Slater played on the end of that with the guitar, and it was like, I remember when I put that in, and it used to just finish on the piano, and then I was like, I'm late into the, like we were probably close to finishing the mixes here, like we were getting into it, but the mixes took a long time. They happened during lockdown, Partly it's my fault. I was like, I'm not gonna take
these mixers, man. They take a while.
They take a while. Some of them, fucking hell.
But then I'm just that guy, like, don't do nothing. Like, yo, what are we saying?
You know,
have you mixed it?
No, but you know what?
Just turn the drums up. And...
If you weren't checking in on me, I probably would have been. I needed that sometimes.
But the lockdown was just like, I wrote hardly any bars, man. I thought, I'm gonna have loads of time, but it's like time doesn't necessarily always equal creative output.
The thing is, I always say, if you don't feel creative, go live. Like, I don't know why you're at a point right now. You know you can write. Cool. So why would you sit there just? You need, if it's not quality, then you're just expressing your ability, and you've already. It's the same thing with like music. If I don't, all these beats that are on the EP, majority of them were all done with you. I was never like, and I don't believe in that process anymore. Of like, send me a batch that I can just look at, and then this
doesn't do anything.
It doesn't do anything. So that's why, like, when outro happened, it was half finished, but then I played it to you. But in a funny way that I couldn't imagine the EP ending without that song. But I feel like it's the most complete. It's the most like complete feeling at the end of the entire EP. There was one track we cut off, which. So how did you? Yeah, we went from 6 to 5 at the end.
I really like that song, and maybe it will see the light of day at some point. I think there's something again about being like contained. You know, and I just felt like 5 songs captures what I'm trying to say at this point.
And if it doesn't, then you probably you might get that feeling like I should have delivered it. If you can't deliver it in 5, then what's the 6th gonna do?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. So, and that's kind of hard because, you know, sometimes those decisions feel like it's hard removing myself, because obviously me and you know, you've produced everything, I've written everything. There's naturally an attachment. But it's like trying to remove yourself and being like, okay, so whoever's listening to this is not going to have been in a room with us recording, seeing the whole process. Let's give them something that's like captures everything we want, and is a good length, not too long, not too short, and does what we wanted it to do. And I felt like these 5 tracks do that.
There's a lot of pressure on people to want to be successful. There's a lot of people that are probably not to have a play on the words, but lose sleep on trying to be like, I need to be super successful. And I think it's interesting because you've had a spectrum of success, which a lot of people unfortunately may get or may not get. And we know, based on how the industry works, is a lot of people don't get a chance to taste sometimes going to that highest point. So right now in this part of your life where you've made this project, if there's an up and coming artist, which there's a lot of them, like, what are you telling them right now from all your experience? Like, what's the wisdom that you'd pass on and say, look, this is what you should take from me right now?
I think you have to, hard work is good. It's good to work hard, and it's something that we should.
You're the most on-time artist I've ever worked with in my life. And even if he's late, and he's on time of the time that he quotes that he's going to be late, which is bizarre. Like, I've never met musicians like that. That's the only reason this EP got finished.
But it's good to work hard. It's good to work hard, but there's like I kind of touched on a little bit earlier, but I would really say, don't work hard in order to justify or that kind of get that feeling of like validation of self, because I think if you do work from that, you're probably going to be disappointed at some point. And I say that from experience. I remember thinking, right, well, if I do this and if I get there, and that will prove, you know, if I get heard on the radio, that will explain to my family that I haven't quite got this or whatever, and then get played on the radio, and it's cool. Like, felt
there's
nice,
nothing wrong with that,
you know, but it didn't necessarily bring that feeling that I thought it would. And then it's like, well, if I, like, you know, had a charting song, like, that will give me that feeling. And then that happened, and it was like, it was cool, but it was also like, it was weirdly disappointing, and I don't quite know why. And what I've just learned, and then music didn't go so well just from a commercial side to me, and it really made me dig deep and think, what am I what am I like doing this for? And it was like for this validation, and it's like it's not gonna come. So my advice would be work hard, work consistent. That's good. Like we're here on this earth to work, and by work, you know, whatever that looks like for you. But if you come in with the hope, and this might be subconscious, that like the music or success in music will cover up those insecurities or those whatever, you're probably going to be disappointed. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's a lot about, because the thing is,
and I did that for a long time.
Because hard work is interesting, because it sounds cliche, but I think what you're meaning by hard work is that a lot of people have talent, and with the talent, they're showing up and expecting that if I just bring this talent around with me everywhere, I should get what I want.
Yeah.
But the hard work is, and when I joke about showing up on time, that's part of the hard work. There's a difference between a guy who loses 2 hours on his session and he was just taking time getting there, and the guy that was already warmed up for that 2 hours, and he's gone straight into the session.
And that's like when I realized, like when I've been able to I don't know, like support like rappers on,
you've supported a lot of people, so
and it's like some of them, like you really learn. Some of them, it's like, oh my gosh, right, they're selling out their shows every day, so that's a given. I always thought, well, if I can sell out my shows, sick, you know. But for them, that's a given. But then it's just seeing how much they work on the other stuff, like vocal training. You know, I remember the first tour I went on, like night 3, I'd lost my voice because I didn't know how to look after it. And so those things are where it's like the work, you know, like I said, songwriting wasn't so natural to me. So spending time like listening and working out and trying to perfect that side of things. It's not work. Hard work doesn't always just necessarily look like doing. It's like working smartly and thinking, well, I need to improve in this area and that. So yeah, music, you could work really hard and still not get anything out of music. But if you don't work hard, nothing's going to happen. But don't, it can be a painful place to try and find some sort of meaning and identity.
Fair play. And I guess my last question to you is going to be just about the EP, which is I don't think you should ever, and I ask this question not for you to define somebody's way to interpret the EP, but I ask this question, say, now that you finished it, it's immortalized, it's going to be in your catalog now, right? And this is a good advice for anyone coming up. It's like, be careful in the music that you pick, because it is a part of your catalog forever. And we've all got music that
couple tunes
and you're like, I shouldn't have that. And that's gonna happen as a given. But it's more about, if you think like that, you respect yourself so much more. You're like, if you really care about your art and your talent, you'll pick carefully. It's easy to pick with negligence. So now that you're looking back on this project, it's like, what's your intention of what you hope to that well, let's say, what's your hopes in what you put into the project as opposed to what you want from it? Because I think if you have a hope from what you want, it can be disappointing quick. We don't know if it's going to be received. It could be received great, it could be, but I think we discussed this a lot where we were like, we don't care how it's received because we personally enjoy the work.
And that's not like a hard-headed thing, like who cares? But it's like, it comes just back to that like validation.
We don't need
I'd love people to enjoy it,
of course.
I would absolutely love it. Otherwise, what's the point? However, if they don't, I can look myself in the mirror and say, this is where I was. And I think for me, I woke up today was a very like just enlightening experience for me writing it. And it was that waking up is that realization of, Nick, you have so much to be grateful for. And that's not just kind of like material things or whatever. There's so much just little nuances of life that you have to be grateful for. And don't forget that. And for me, that's what I woke up today really encompasses, is you woke up, you're here, so be here and be grateful for being here. So for me, that's what I put into it, and I don't want to forget that. And that's something that I want to, because there'll be those times that will come where I'll be feeling very woe is me, you know, I'm a musician, I'm a writer, feeling sorry for myself, and it's like, no, I want this EP to play a part in reminding me there's more to just than just how you're feeling. There's more, and there's so much more for you. So that's what I hope, and I think that I woke up today will mean to me for a very long time.
Fair enough, man.
And bruv, thank you, because like I say,
what, 900 hours in the studio?
A lot of patience, you know what I mean, and a lot of like me do that, like, you know, that sound, like press that, and
always a good thing to hear though, man. It's like people like. We always, as producers and mixers, like, people get it. We know what we signed up for, but it is a painful part of the journey. Like, there's sitting there. Much. I've heard those records forever. I will have heard them more than you have. Forever. Like, my count on them is so high.
And you'll be listening to every individual set. Like, you won't be able to just switch off.
Now I'm doing it. Just now. Close to now, it's just happening right towards it because I'm starting to forget what I did.
Yeah.
And it's nice to just listen to it and not critique yourself. But just a quick shout out to everyone involved.
Yeah, so
on the artwork and
so Miles, George, who did an amazing job with the artwork, and not just the artwork, just creative direction.
This artistic identity and what the project looks
amazing.
Like. Yeah.
Big up Miles, Saf, Seth, Ella did loads. Jake Isaac for featuring on I Woke Up Today track. Yeah. My boy Daniel Jones playing trumpet, doing some vocals. My dad played a bit of guitar. Kavid had a voice note. My nan, God rest her soul, who the
wraps
voice
it
note
up
at the end. She just captured something. I don't think I'm forgetting anyone. Yeah. Oh no, a Cat Deal, who dropped vocals on Essentials.
Of course, She gave Essentials life.
She really did, because we were struggling with that for ages. So yeah, it's very much a collaborative effort, and I just have played one part in it. So yeah, as a view. So Moghul, everyone, man, Nawand, Hosier, Archie,
of course.
Loads of people, man.
There's a lot.
And it's just, even as we're thinking of these people, it's like, that's what I Woke Up Today is about. Like, look at all these people
that got involved. Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's like, it's just so much to be grateful for. So,
and that's the beauty of it as well. It's nice that we had so many of these, and a lot of these people from walks of life that we knew. But I guess that the EP's out now. Yeah. It should be out now. It is out now.
Yeah, it's out. Big up Freddie as well.
Big up Freddie.
Jordan. Yeah, there's so many people.
Everyone.
Yeah. Check out the EP.
Check it out. Listen to it,
and let us know what you think.
That's important. Yeah, just enjoy it.
Oh yeah, I wanted to start some conversations.
Yeah, hopefully so.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Wicked.
That's a wrap. Shit, I wonder how long we went on for there.
Time.